Well, yeah, good afternoon. Saturday, the 20th of July. And today I turned 80, believe it or not. I thought I'd put a little video up here. I was going to talk a little bit about what I'm going to get for supper tonight, my birthday meal. But I wanted to talk about when I was real young, one of my favorite meals when I still lived at home, or when I was growing up, obviously. This goes back a lot of years ago. uh, my favorite meal used to be, believe it or not, it was a breakfast meal. And we used to have pancakes and rabbit gravy whenever we would happen to go out and hunt and get some rabbits. And I'm talking about wild ones, not caged rabbits, but the kind that you see that have the gray rabbit cottontail. Way back in those days, usually we would eat whatever was in season. In the fall, you have pheasant and rabbits and squirrels. And there was plenty of them where I lived. There was a creek just, I don't know, maybe 75 yards, or it might have not even been that far. And the country started right there. That was the city limits. And then the first farm on the north side of the road there, that had a lot of woods on it. And then the farmer would always leave some stalks up in these cornfields that my dad and I used to hunt the length of it. And at the end of his field up there, which it ran better than a quarter of a mile, it actually run into the tip of my great-grandfather's farm. He had a farm out there. And then we'd hunt the two farms. We'd hunt the one farm, run clear out to the other one. My great-grandfather's farm had a spring in it, and the spring ran year-round. So there was a lot of wild game around it in the fall and winters. Yeah, actually year-round, but you could hunt in the fall and through most of the winter. And so we'd get plenty of pheasants and rabbits, and then the woods, which is the first part we'd hit when we'd leave our house there. Lots of squirrels. And then the south side of the road, that was a big dairy farm. That's where we got our eggs and milk, stuff like that. Well, eggs and milk mainly. And then further on out, the next farm was across from my great-grandfather's there. And it was bigger than my great-grandfather's. Now it's all, everything out there is houses. And the farms all disappeared out in that area. So for the next, probably a mile, maybe a little more, it's all homes, big, expensive homes out that way. My grandfather got rid of his farm when I was pretty young. Probably 7, 8 years old, I guess, when he moved into town. He moved right across the alley from us in one of my aunt's homes. But the people that bought it always allowed us to hunt out there right up till I went in service. It was always a good place to get game in the wintertime. And the farms around there had always allowed us to hunt. Obviously, we notified them before we'd go out there to hunt. We didn't. We never actually hunted anybody's property without calling them ahead of time or going up to the house and ask permission or telling them we were going to be there. Everybody's pretty polite back then. Today, people seem to just walk on your property and think they can sometimes, but nobody really tried to take advantage of each other. But anyway, I was just explaining that's where we got our game. And it's a good thing because it kept a lot of meat on our table certain times of the year. And that creek down here put a lot of fish on our table, so and turtle. You know, we ate snapper turtles too. And it was a bass stream as far as being on the maps. Oh, well, I was going back to, if you caught it, I said something about pancakes and gravy, rabbit gravy. And the gravy was a milk gravy, milk and flour. And some of you probably turned your nose up. Who would want to put gravy on pancakes? Well, I want you to look at it this way. People put gravy on biscuits. And I liked it that way too. It's just my favorite was pancakes. And I don't know why. Just kind of was a family tradition. You could put syrup on them if you wanted to, or but the pancakes and gravy, especially the rabbit gravy, was tasty, and it stuck with you all day. So if you had to go out and do some kind of chores of some kind, when you left home, you were stuffed, and it would stick with you. Now, we could have other things beside that. I mean, if we wanted eggs and on the side or something of that nature, my mom would cook us anything up we wanted. When she cooked breakfast, and we didn't have that kind of staples around, the eggs would be on a great big platter out there. It seemed like it covered half the table and disappeared in about 10 minutes. There was 3 of us boys, and my dad and my mother and my grandmother, so the table would be full of food, and it wasn't long before it wasn't. And there usually wasn't a whole lot of leftovers. The food was tasty, and everybody it seemed like it was quiet. There's a little bit of talking, not a whole lot. Everybody seemed to, mealtime was mealtime, and time to get down to business. Now, as far as today, a few weeks ago we picked out some filet mignon steak. We had the butcher cut one of those tender roasts up, and man, they look good. We ended up with I think we've got 6 pounds of it, 6 or 7 pounds of filet in our freezer, and we kind of spread them out so we don't eat them every week, and we may go a month without eating one of those, but we enjoy them. They're tender and tasty. So today I'm going to have that for tonight, that steak and sweet potato. I'm thinking some kind of salad that my wife will come up with. We've got all kinds of different fixings in the refrigerator. There's tomatoes and onions and lettuce and zucchini and just a little bit of everything. And of course, we may have some French bread with it, but we can slice it kind of thick and put lots of butter on it. I love butter, the real butter, not margarine, not the stuff that's watered down. Just butter. Yeah, I can't get it like it used to be. You know, back when I was a kid, we had farm fresh milk and farm fresh eggs. And sometimes if they butchered a feeder out there or a full-grown, the one guy out there, he raised Angus. We'd get some meat off from that as well. Not free, obviously. I mean, we'd buy it, but a lot of times the one guy there, he didn't particularly care for the calf liver, so he would give that to us, or and I'm trying to think what else. There was certain parts of the meat he didn't particularly care for. I'd bring it home and we'd package it and put it in the freezer. I'd help him out with the butchering by, a lot of times we take what was left over from the butchering and throw it out with the hogs out there. So his kids and myself would get that chore of getting things out there. When you're young like that, that stuff don't bother you. I mean, you grow up with it, so you know that where meat comes from and what it takes to get it on your table, so you don't have a queasy stomach about it. Yeah, I learned how to clean game by the time I was probably 8 years old. I was doing a lot of it. I cleaned fish from a very young age. I had as a matter of fact, by the time I was 4 years old, I had a pocket knife. Not that I got to use it much at that age, but somewhere between 8 and 10, I took over the chores of cleaning fish and any wild game that come through that my dad would hunt, or that any one of us kids would hunt and bring home. I hunted on a regular basis during hunting season, and I would fish until the creek freeze over. Then I wouldn't fish. I didn't do any ice fishing back then. There was one area that it was pretty much spring fed, and there was areas there that you could get into and fish it. And sometimes you could bait it a little bit ahead of time with a little bit of corn, throw it in there. We'd draw the fish up in there, and then you could fish up in there about any time, and there'd be some waiting to get something to eat. And then were table ready. We didn't do that as often, though. We had another area we went to in another town that had areas we could fish near dams and stuff where it was plentiful. Oh, but that's my meal today. Probably be some green beans, I'm assuming. It might even be just baked beans. I like baked beans, but my wife will probably surprise me with part of it. But it won't be a big surprise, because when she starts cooking it, obviously I know what it is. Looking forward to it regardless. She's a good cook. Makes me hungry just to think. I hope everybody out there is having a good weekend. Nothing earth-shattering on here today. No gripes, complaints. This is my day of being nice. And I want to thank everybody out there for wishing me a happy birthday. I really appreciate it. And thank all the subs that come by and listen to my channel, make comments on it, the thumbs up, and they're always appreciative. I just can't say enough for you. It's nice to know that there's people out there that appreciate what you may stand for and things like that. And when you listen to somebody tell stories, old stories, well, that's something too, because especially if you can keep them on there for a few minutes, you didn't bore them too bad. You look up there and you say, well, how long did the average one be on there? And you see, well, let's see, the program was 20 minutes long. The average was 7 minutes. Well, I kept them for part of it. And some of them get it all the way to the end. That makes you feel a little better about maybe the subjects you put out there. If you have anything special you want to know about, go ahead. I did put one of my videos up when I sang. It's a duet, and it's if you look through my videos, it's the just look down through the list. It'll be at the very bottom down there. As I go through them, and I have to make sure that the copyright's still good on them, because when I sing something, the copyright belongs to somebody else, not me. And it doesn't cost me anything to use the song and sing it, but I give all rights up to it for any monetary rights. And nothing on my channel is monetized to me. I don't, not so much as a penny. Okay, so any commercials you might see on there are not something that puts money in my pocket. I'm not trying to do that. I don't have a PayPal account, and I don't sell products on here. If you see me talking about a product, it's because it might be one that I like. Like my EV bike. I enjoy that, and I bought that for my pleasure, and I paid for it. 100% out of my pocket. No, that's just the way it is. I don't like to be obligated to somebody or something. And since this is only a hobby and not, I don't do it for anything other than it's just a plain hobby, that's all. And that's probably why I get a little upset sometimes with people that they put words in my mouth sometimes, but that's just the way it is. There's no big deal. Trying to think of what else I can talk about today. It's a good day for me. Appreciate all of you that came by. I want you all to have a good weekend. I hope you eat as well as I'm going to today. I know times for some people are very tough out there. And even though it hasn't been tough on my wife and I, as far as changing a lot of habits, I know groceries and stuff are up. Money don't buy what it did at one time. I mean, whether it's gasoline or if some of you are having to buy or rent, the cost has went skyrocketed up. That's just what happens sometimes over years. And you have to prepare yourself for it and try to get through those lean times. I've been through a lot of lean times over the years. I grew up in a time where the economy was pretty much flat. And it's nice because you can get used to it. But if it's not really in a growth stage, money will always be tight through those times. When it's inflated, it gets tougher on you. And I realize that sometimes if it catches you with your pants down, the only thing you can do is eat less or eat products that don't cost as much, things like that. This time when all this stuff went up, we didn't travel around as much with the vehicles, and part of it was we couldn't anyway because it happened to hit during times when we had to have some major operations between the two of us. And then, of course, when good old pandemic come along, that got things stifled a little bit. You couldn't get out either, so you didn't spend as much. And maybe the affordability of things, even though it went up, maybe you had some more in your pocket to spend the extra money if you needed to. My wife and I both have little specialty things we like, whether it be candy or we like those Lindell candies, they're about that big around, chocolate, and they have a melt-away center in them and stuff. We like those. And Garibaldi chocolate and all those things that cost money that you have to be careful of because you can end up spending more on that than your groceries itself if you're not careful. And we like desserts. And oh, by the way, what we did, not that we're penny pinchers, but Walmart had a nice big velvet cake. Okay. And the frosting on it was like a vanilla cheese type, buttery type frosting. And we bought it. It happened to be the last day you could sell it as a fresh cake. And it was about half price. So we scarfed that up. That's my birthday cake today. And it tastes good. It's nice. The good Lord was looking out for us. I think it was like a gift from heaven. Let's put it that way. Whenever you get a bargain, I don't know if you ever noticed it, but a bargain tastes better. And it almost tickles you because you think, wow, this is almost a gift. I mean, we always look through the cake section like that. Now, my wife is an excellent cook. But, it's a shame that she would have to spend a half a day just on a cake or whatever it is, and then all the cleanup. And I always help her, or try to always help her on the cleanup and stuff. But, we're retired. So whenever we can take advantage of getting something somewhere else, that's part of the retirement. We do that. And a bargain like that means, well, gee whiz, you don't have to worry about a birthday cake today. Here's one baked, and it was an excellent cake, or is an excellent cake. Trying to think, I think last week we were able to get some peaches that come out of Georgia, and boy, were they good. I like to slice them up, and then I really like to put a little bit of half and half and a little bit of sugar, and mix it all up. So you just can't imagine. I mean, it just, it's almost like a caramel in there when it all comes together. My mouth is once, how your mouth gets all wet because you think of something that's so good. A little bit of saliva comes up. Well, that's what happens if I start talking about things like that. We used to have peach trees, and I don't know if it was, I think it was high winds took them out one day that I had out here in the backyard, and we didn't bother to plant anymore. We had a couple of them back there. That, oh man, was that good when they get ripe. The problem is so many of them come ripe at the same time. You can't keep up with them, and you sure hate to see them go to waste. You give them away if you can, and oh man, and the ones you don't get, when they hit the ground, it doesn't take long before they're rotted on the ground. But oh yeah, that is a pleasure when you walk out there. Sometimes it makes me wish I'd have bought a small farm or something and put in an orchard of some kind. Put some fruit trees out there and maybe some vines. I used to like those blue grapes, and they're kind of thick-skinned, but they were good. I'd eat them when they come ripe towards fall. Early morning, they're nice and cool. Oh, they're good. And then we had currants, things like that, out in the fence line on one side of our place. This is when I was growing up. We had the fence line with those on them. I mean, there's nothing better than walk out and grab some fresh fruit off from something early in the mornings when the dew's still there on it. Grab your pole and head for the creek and get you a couple fish and bring them back and have them for lunch or supper or whatever, if you're lucky enough to catch a few. I think I started thinking about food today because I like filet mignons. They're just so good. They're not real big around, but I had them cut them at about an inch thick, which, I guess it's about like that, or, it's just right. And I like mine, medium rare most of the time, or medium I don't like them cooked any more than medium. They get a little, any meat can get kind of tough if it is. But, and I don't usually put, other flavoring on it, and steak sauce and stuff like that. It's a little salt and butter and pepper, and flop it on the plate and chow down. Sop up the juice with a little bit of bread, things like that. Or if you happen to have potatoes and gravy with it, that's great too. But today's going to be sweet potatoes on there, a little butter on them. Maybe just a touch of cinnamon on there. Yeah, it's as good as pumpkin pie, And I do have a pie down there that in the freezer. It's a pecan pie. I don't know if you like those or not, but I'm gonna save that for another day. And we finished up a cherry pie yesterday. I love pies. My wife and I use it a lot of times in the evening for a snack as a pie. So, and a little bit of ice cream, a dip or two. Used to make it homemade, and boy, today homemade ice cream costs more than what you can buy it for. But boy, is it good! Oh, I used to be able to sit down. I didn't have any problem eating a half gallon of homemade ice cream. That's part of the reason I got this belly on me, I think. It's once you put it on, it's hard to get rid of it. And boy, there for a few years, I was really eating that stuff up. Years ago, I quit drinking and I started eating a lot more. Not that I drank a lot, but I don't even remember when I took the last drink. It just didn't appeal to me. I think well, my brother-in-law, he used to like to tip a few. He'd come over after some of his antics. I decided I didn't want to. It makes you feel uncomfortable when somebody gets to having just one or two too many. You know, they act a little foolish, and you know that if you do that, you're going to act a little foolish too. So, not always a good thing, right? Well, that's it for today. I appreciate you if you stuck by me this long. That little 5-minute thing would turn into 25 minutes. So, like I say, have a good day, and thank you so much for listening. And thank you so much for the ones that are subbed to my channel. It means a lot. It means that somebody appreciates your getting on here. Now, it's not hard work for me to come on here like this. Sometimes when I have to do those research, it takes a little bit of time to do that. But other than that, nah, not so much. I just hit on whatever the subject is at the time. And hopefully things are going okay out there for you. And I'll talk to you later. May the good Lord bless all of you. Good night or good afternoon.